Good evening, you are live. It's another episode of the UK Colts Fans podcast. It is another Monday, and it is a Monday closer to the season. With that being said, I'm going to introduce my guest. You guys have met him once before, and now again, it's becoming a bit of a habit. Robbie, people are going to start talking. But how are you doing?
Yes, mate, very good. Nice to see the media teams are pushing out how many days are left, because at least we're on the double digits now rather than having to wait another 100 days or 120 days.
I know, it is crazy. It is crazy. It feels like it's been the longest off season of my life. Maybe that's just because of COVID and everything and all the lockdowns. Maybe it's because of your nerves, because of the Euros and everything's just playing on my mind at the minute. But anyway, we'll get straight into the show, because I did tell the world that you had some hot takes on our boss's opinions. There's one almighty God in our group chat. Our group knows this. Many people might not know this, but the one and almighty God is of the UK Colts fans group chat. Do you want to tell them who it is?
It's pretty obvious, isn't it? Out of all the players that have ever played in Indianapolis, there is one God.
Yeah.
Jack Doyle.
Jack Doyle.
Anyone that follows me on Twitter, during the football season, they know the love and admiration I have for that man. Do you know Cloney Dungy, Mike? Yeah. He's finally just made a figure of Jack Doyle, and I've been on at him for months to enshrine him.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a bit about Jack Doyle. I can't remember how he started. I think he was like third string, maybe undrafted.
Undrafted from the Titans.
Oh, that's even better, isn't it?
It was on their kind of off-season roster. Got cut, and then we picked him up.
See, they've missed a trick there, because he is probably the best run blocking tight end in the league. And then you put Jack Doyle with Derrick Henry. Things look a lot different, but we've got him.
Like the Titans roster's changed massively, isn't it? Like, well, to be fair, ours has. When he came on, he was going to be fourth string. We had Fleener and Dwayne Haskins. No, not Dwayne Haskins. That's the quarterback.
What's his name? I completely forget.
I'll come back to that. So he was going to fourth string, and then he kind of had like the likes of Eric Swoop that came in as well, and the fact that he kind of beaten them all out to end up becoming a starter. Mm-hmm. It kind of shows testament to who he is. So I'm just typing in Indianapolis. Dwayne Allen, that's the one. I met Dwayne Allen in London when he came over to do one of Neil Reynolds' talks. So he came on board as an unrestricted. Obviously, we drafted Dwayne Allen and Kobe Fleener, who kind of had all the kind of prestige. They were the next two tight ends for the Colts for the years to come. Obviously, Kobe Fleener didn't make it past his first contract. He got shipped out. Dwayne Allen got moved to the Patriots, and obviously he's just stepped up, and he's just Mr. Reliable.
Yeah.
The last kind of season two, a lot of his snaps have been gone unnoticed because he's been that kind of sixth kind of lineman as such blocking.
Yeah.
But it's his whole kind of tight end package. I think over the last 3 years he's averaged 10 yards a catch, which if you put that in any receiver, he is above being called average.
Yeah.
As our leader. Has called him on Twitter. Let me bring it up now, because I've been absolutely livid.
Just before you bring it up, the Horseshoe Huddle, what's up, Colts Nation? Nice to see you. Nice to see new faces. Horseshoe, let us know your hot takes on the Colts. We want to hear them here.
But just your opinion on Jack Doyle, because if it's not the same as mine, then you're going to get cut. So the question was, forget the best players. Who are the 5 most league average players on the Colts? And by he, I mean Elliot, the leader of our group, puts Doyle number 1. I don't know if he just did it to get a reaction of me. I didn't put it on our group chat because I thought, no, I'm not having that. I took a screenshot. So I took a screenshot of it just to keep it. So next year, every single touchdown, every single catch, every single block that Jack Doyle's makes, that's going to get thrown back in his face.
I'm sure.
And let's not forget. So last year we had Philip Rivers, who, unless you're a massive wide receiver playing tight end, he's not going to give you the ball. He's going to give out to the running back, or he's going to try that stupid one over the top. Jack Doyle's not going to be there. So before that, if you look at his stats, they're absolutely outstanding for a man that's average. 2019, he's just come off that massive injury. And even then, he's still getting 500 yards. He's still averaging over 10 yards a catch. So, yeah, average.
But no, obviously, we do talk about a lot about Jack Doyle because he is a key player in this offense. For me, it's not exactly what he does with the ball; it's what he does around the ball. And like you said, Jack Doyle could have easily packed it in when Andrew Luck was injured, and he could have shipped himself off somewhere and quite comfortably lived in Miami for the rest of his life. Living the good life. But he stuck it out, and that's why I've got him, because he's stuck with the Colts, who have, rightly so. If Chris Ballard keeps someone around, I think they're doing the right job.
Yeah, it's got to be worth it, I guess.
Yeah.
But the amount of times, even last season, when him and Pittman were blocking, the amount of blocks them two were putting in, and they don't really get the kind of media credit as such as others. From a kind of a fumbling point of view, I can only think of one fumble last year, and another I can't really remember him ever fumbling the ball, and you need that consistency.
There was that one fumble one there, but it was a bad throw. It was literally underneath his legs, and he had to try and catch it.
But then he went off injured then after that for the rest of the season. Yeah,
unfortunately. Let's talk more about some other players. So there are
and his beard. Sorry, let me just jump in there as well. We had Andrew Luck with a beard. Luck obviously stepped away. He did what he did, and he just carried that torch.
Someone's just carried the ball.
So every time you kind of see him, you see the beard, you think back of what could have, should have been.
Yeah, him and Gawinski, good beard game. But let's talk a bit about other players. Let's start with the good. For me, this guy's not just the best slot cornerback in the league. He's probably one of the best nickel cornerbacks in the league. Kenny Moore II. Why is this kid so good? And why was he not there with Belichick?
It's the lack of media attention he got until he had that catch.
Yeah.
Obviously we've seen him in the last couple of years, and I think the player he is now wasn't what we first got. I think he's come on leaps and bounds.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously he come from the Patriots that didn't work out there, which a lot of people don't work out the Patriots for one reason or the other. Especially I think the kind of new younger generation perhaps don't really work well with that authoritarian kind of Belichickian way.
Mm-hmm.
But his development has just been unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Like what he gives you in that kind of package where the bend but don't break, but then when he needs to kind of step up and make that play, whether it's I think last year he had 2 or 3 sacks as well, where he just kind of come in late on, or what he kind of gives you in that backfield.
I think I saw a stat that he was in the top 5 players who have got sacks in the postseason. And like you say, he's only been in the league 3 years, and he's in top 5 out of his class. So this kid is serious.
For me, it's what can we get around him to? Because I think I said it last time. I said Rock Ya-Sin, if he was on another team, say a more favourable team, I don't think he'd get half as many flags as he got last year. It got quite frustrating that you'd watch him. Yes, he'd have a hand on someone, but the game would change around and all the cornerbacks got hands on each other on all the wide receivers, and it's not quite
it's a contact sport.
You can't use the word fair in sport because it's not fair, but things were getting called on him where perhaps others were getting away with it.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a contact sport. Now the league has to decide what it wants. Does it want a contact sport, or does it want a no contact contested game, which would be awful? Because
I get the whole kind of safety of it, but as like it's just how many times do we sit there and like like the flags are getting thrown against us, and it's just like that just doesn't seem, maybe because we are Colts fans, maybe we're a little bit more.
But there were games, and the refs or umpires, depending on which side of the pond you sit, were just awful. And not even from a Colts perspective, they were awful. I mean, all we ask for as fans is consistency. If you're going to call one, you've got to call the other. And we'd see a play where I think it might have been against the Raiders, where there was absolutely no holding at all, and Jonathan Taylor took it to the house, and there was like holding. It's like, where have you got that from?
We had a few. Glowinski got caught on a couple. Braden Smith got caught on a couple, and it was like the video replays showed nothing. Like, I think you could actually see the players when they were looking on the big screen. We're confused as well. That's the thing that obviously with us with kind of VAR over here with the Premier League, how the VAR has been managed in the kind of European Championships has been so much better than how we've managed it. And it's all the same technology, but it's just that fine tweaking. But the Colts aren't a media friendly team. We're not a big market.
No.
So we're never going to get, again, I don't think we'll ever get those kind of big 50-50 calls.
I mean, for me, and I've always said this, okay, and I'm going to sound like a crackpot conspiracist here.
No, I'm on board with this.
But it's not so much a conspiracy, and I don't think it's as much as a rig. But I believe the league, no matter what sport you're in, will have whoever they want on top to be on top. And it might not be, it's not like, referees throw games for these teams. But for example, the tuck rule.
Yeah.
That wasn't even a rule until Tom Brady just made it a rule.
Yeah.
Do you know, shit like that. And you watch us against Buffalo, and there was 2 toe taps on the sideline, and it's that whole thing. You've got to apply common sense, and I could go on for ages about that.
I listened to Jamie Carragher's podcast, The Greatest Game, and he had Mark Clattenburg on, obviously the old referee, and he was talking how refs try and make the game fair. So he was talking about the Champions League final. Someone, I can't remember which game he was reffing, but someone scored, and it was like it shouldn't have been a goal. So start of the second half, he managed to award a penalty to the other team. He was like, well, usually I probably wouldn't give it, but because I messed up that one, I gave him that penalty. And it's like, well, you've got to apply the rules, not your interpretation of it. And I think that's the problem. There's too many refs with too many interpretations.
Yeah.
Whereas, they are humans. They are kind of stuck in the kind of heat of the moment.
Yeah.
But, that's what there's video referee. That's why kind of you've got to take the kind of emotions out of it as a ref and be kind of totally down the line. That's what we just want, a fair game. Yeah. And if you're getting called holding on one side, it's got to be called on the other side. Yeah. But me and you aren't going to be able to change that. Well, not anytime soon.
Maybe if Mr. Ursay's, watching. I know he's a massive fan. So maybe if he's watching, we'll get it sorted. But no, I think previous games have clouded judgments of umpires. Like, okay, when Rock Sin absolutely suplexed that guy, I can't remember who it was, but just Brock Lesnar him into the ground. I thought it was fantastic. Obviously, it's a flag. It was like the wrestling god, but I loved it. But then I feel like that clouded judgments of officials.
Yeah.
That whenever Rock Sin was in a contact contested run,
yeah, that's fair.
It was just instant flag. But let's get back to our team and why we're such a good team. And for me, it's Chris Ballard has somehow got us into a Super Bowl window without going all in. That's hard to say for a GM point of view.
I'd hold the brakes maybe on a Super Bowl team. I think
17-0 Super Bowl champion.
I think we're maybe 1 or 2 pieces away from it.
Okay.
Whether that, from the wide receiving core, obviously Ty is going to be Ty. He's going to get you 1,000 yards hopefully again this year. He takes a lot of attention away from the rest of the kind of field. Paris Campbell's got a lot to be doing to kind of, he's just changed to the number 1 jersey. If I was in charge of them roster like jersey numbers, you're not having that. You're not having that until you prove.
The last man to have that number 1 jersey, I'm sure we all know, is the legend Pat McAfee.
Exactly, but look at his play backed his swagger.
Yeah.
So he can have that number 1, but Paris Campbell's done nothing yet to warrant having that number 1 jersey.
It's a heavy number. It is a heavy number.
Exactly. So he needs to prove it. And then Michael Pittman I actually love. I think if he carries on developing, I think he'd be fantastic. But our track record over the last few years with the wide receivers have been horrendous. Whether it be like getting Andre Johnson or the lad from the Chiefs, like it's just we've struggled to get that wide receiver 2 to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Had like people like Marcus Johnson or Zach Pascal or something like that, just kind of stepping up into that kind of position, but they need to step up. And Jack Doyle's 31, he's God, but he needs someone else with him. If you look at Mo Ali, he's had a couple of really nice catches that kind of got the spotlight, but he's not really making those steps into kind of taking that position by himself.
Yeah.
And then kind of the rest we're kind of scratching around at the 2 young lads from last year. Again, name just
Can Zach Pascal take that number 2 spot?
Yeah, but I think with what we've kind of put into Pittman and Campbell, I think they're going to get all the opportunities until at least half of it. I think they're going to get the majority of the kind of action and the kind of sights from Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
But we've always got like a Pascal who kind of comes good at the end of the season that will kind of give you those kind of solid catches.
Yeah.
And I think, that Mikey's put there, potential, that's all we've had is we've got a lot of potential there. Carson Wentz has a potential to be great. Everyone that look at our offensive line, that is great, but what's it going to be like at left tackle, especially beginning of the season? So that's got potential to be great again. Our linebackers, losing Anthony Walker again, we've got some great pieces there, so that's the potential to be great again. Whereas again, Mikey's hit it on the nail on the head. The one kind of position I think everyone's happy with is the running backs. Mm-hmm. Carson Wentz goes down. We've got your boy, who we still haven't seen throw a live ball.
Me and Jakey. Well, I've seen it. Mate. It's happening.
Has he reached out to you yet? He's got to you being his number 1 fan.
No, but I've got to try and engage with him because it would be funny.
Just take some of the screenshots, man. Like you go to Everest to defend him and kind of promote him at every opportunity.
Do you know what it is? The kid had a shit time in college. I think he picked up an injury and then was just his coach sort of went, "Yeah, we're not having you anymore." So he transferred, and then he probably could have done another year at college, but decided to declare for the draft. And it's just someone we took a chance on. I think it's just an absolute Chris Ballard move to take a chance on someone, and then your star quarterback just goes, "Yeah, I'm not really feeling it anymore, Chris."
Yeah. Looking how this kind of season can develop, the 4 running backs can't feed everyone.
You can't.
Max got a year to prove that he's fit and healthy, or that he can still do it after this injury. JT, he had a great first season. Can he continue? What's it going to be like now with fans in the stadium? Because that's going to be a big thing for these rookies from last year. They had a year to kind of bed in, but then how are they going to react now in front of the crowds? Yes, they played in front of some big crowds for the bigger colleges, but this is an NFL stadiums, NFL crowd, NFL attention. Where how are they gonna handle it? And Ballard's good at building this kind of mentality that kind of hits home as well. But they're going to want the ball. They're there because they're game makers. They make these big plays.
And we've seen already, just from to talk soccer for a second, as I'll say, because we got people watching. we've seen already what an impact of having the crowd back in the stadium does at the Euros. Look at Wembley with only 20,000 in. It was electric.
Yeah.
And, when I think Jim Irsay said he's got full capacity crowds. He's got the go-ahead to do that. And I've never been to Lucas Oil personally, but I know it's indoors and I know it probably could get pretty loud. And it's got to be exciting, but you've also, as a rookie, got to learn to temper your adrenaline.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a fair one. Especially like you got the likes of Jordan Glasgow, who I love on special teams. Hopefully he'll get a chance to kind of show what he's got in the preseason playing linebacker. And hopefully, because we've been so devoid of live sport, hopefully there is a full crowd in there even for preseasons. We during the off season we absolutely look forward to these preseason games. When the preseason games come, we're like, yeah. Preseason. We should be good. I think it's we're another 2 or 3 weeks away from the Game Pass check coming out of the account again. Great, which has gone up in price. But because I've had such a dodgy internet, it's worth it just so I can make sure I watch every game.
Yeah, it's like 150 quid for the year or something like that, which sounds like a lot, but bearing in mind, I would pay 90 quid a ticket to go and watch Arsenal. It's really nothing.
What, the Emirates?
Yeah, it was Arsenal Man City, and I paid. Well, my dad. I'll say I paid. My dad paid 90 quid. It was in the top tier. Just got a couple. Weird about the fans. I know NFL games seem fine to me, but I didn't really enjoy the footy without the fans. I'm a Spurs fan, so
right. So let's address that first point. Hold on. Right. So yeah, I get your point about watching the NFL without the fans, but when you're there, the players made a conscious effort of saying how strange it was without the fans. Especially when the fourth downs. I think a lot of offenses got away with staying on the field.
Yeah.
Because they could communicate. As for being a Spurs fan, Mikey, you just lost me, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, it can have an adverse effect. Just even if it's one person, shouting something, it's all of a sudden like, oh, there's actually somebody watching. It just builds that little bit of pressure. And that pressure is going to be heaped on our franchise quarterback. And that's not Jacob Eason for now.
Yeah.
That's Carson Wentz. How is he going to deal with the pressure going into this season?
I think Wentz will be fine. He's been there and done that. I think he's got the way Wright kind of handles him. Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a big thing. I think the pressure in Philly and their market and their fans who are I almost swore are Santa haters. They're the kind of people they are.
Yeah.
Whereas I think the Colts will be a bit more forgiving. I know they're very kind of hard on their quarterbacks and what the expectations are, obviously from the past. But I think the first kind of 6 games, as long as he's kind of hitting league averages, I think he'll be welcome. And I think then he'll have the backing.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the obvious thing you were referring to about Colts fans being hard on their quarterbacks. Andrew Luck retiring. Now, I don't think Colts fans were necessarily mad at Andrew. They were just hurt that the way it came out. Maybe we said before the game, like, it's clear I can't play for the next season, so this is it for me.
Yeah, no.
A bit more understanding.
From a mental health point of view, I think you gotta respect what he did. I certainly do. Appreciate what he did. The timing could have been better. Just before the season, it getting leaked at a game. I think that was the kind of main part. But you're always going to get the minority being louder than the majority on absolutely anything and everything. If you look at taking a knee before the game, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it, there's a small minority that don't agree with it, and they make that noise in the football stadiums.
Wentz should see less pressure. Philly line was banged up and could see he didn't have many clean pockets. I mean, yeah, getting Carson Wentz for the Colts is a win-win, right? Because he is as good as Phillip Rivers at being clever and being able to read the field. But he can escape from the pocket, which means the O-line doesn't have to work at all. And Carson Wentz doesn't have to work as hard. Really, look, all the blame goes on. Yeah, Ryan Grigson could have put a fat one.
Do you know, I get what you're saying. I get Mikey's kind of point that about the less pressure, but there is more pressure on him because he's going to have more time, and there's going to be more, or there should be more options for him to stay in the pocket, and so there is a lot more pressure mentally rather than kind of I'm going to get smashed again here. Like we had luck, he had those 2 or 3 years where it's just, geez, like he just literally looked like he went to war for us.
Yeah.
Whereas kind of, and obviously still made those plays, but again, Mikey, other than being a Spurs fan, I agree with you again. Grigson ruined luck. Grigson shouldn't be anywhere near an NFL franchise ever again. How he didn't get arrested is beyond me.
He won't be caught in a bar in Indianapolis ever again. He definitely won't appear on the Pat McAfee show.
He's no, definitely not. But he's I think he's like someone with the Seahawks now.
It's the Browns, I think.
Or is it?
I think that's where he last was. Should we have a look at Google?
Hold on. Ryan Grigson. Where are we? Are we going to get a chance to talk about our kicking competition? Yeah, he was at Cleveland, went to Seattle, back to Cleveland as a senior football advisor. No wonder they're rubbish.
Well, he's not even a GM. He's just someone who gets paid to be around.
Yeah, definitely.
They basically go, Ryan, what do you want to do? And then whatever he says, they do the opposite.
Things like, he must have had something about him to get the job.
I think it's just who he knows, mate. I think it is purely on who he knows.
And when you look at, that first draft of his, taking TY, taking Andrew, and then you just look at Bjorn Werner.
But yeah, exactly. Andrew Luck, anyone's taken Andrew Luck number 1 overall.
Philip Dorsett, yes, I know he's got a ring, but that was a bit part player for the Patriots, and
yeah,
he's not what Grigson thought he was going to be.
He's like a magpie, and he saw something shiny and thought, "Oh yeah, that would work," and it doesn't always work.
And there's just a lack of it, as we I think everyone spoke about the lack of investment in the O-line to actually protect them. Just look what we've got now. And I still hate that Ryan Kelly doesn't get enough credit as what he should have.
Because he plays for the Colts. If he played for the Cowboys or the Giants, he'd be getting all the praise.
For me, he was the first pick. Like he was. I think Andrew Luck said it, like how mean Ryan Kelly is. Like even he's just apparently he's an arsehole. and that's what you need in that position. You need someone that's just gonna just be in the trenches and just doesn't give a toss who you are. Yeah. And I think that's kind of come through.
Yeah. Just before we talk about the kicking competition, I want to bring up the other side of the trenches and what is just an absolute perfect complement to our O line, which is our D line now. Mikey, although Kelly went to Bama, I like him. College rivalries don't. I mean, for me,
it's nothing to me. Like, literally, couldn't care less.
That I can't say that first word. Jukes.
That absolutely means nothing. Like, Sky Sports got a couple of games the last couple of seasons, haven't they? They started playing a few games, and just like it's so much slower.
Yeah, it
just doesn't do it for me.
I like it because obviously you see the prospects and stuff. I think you meant Goy Tigers.
That's how you pronounce G-A-U-X. We go.
Learn something every day. But yeah, I do like watching bowl season because it is fun to watch. It's always the first rounders going at it, really. But other than that, it's just a different level in it. NFL, Jonathan Taylor learned very quickly that at the NFL level, he couldn't just do a stretch run to the outside and run past everyone, and he had to change his game. But back to the D line. This, especially if Grove Stewart has another year like he did last year, this is monstrous.
Again, we got that potential, and I think that's the word, and how we come through this year. Hopefully, it's no longer potential; it's the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big fan of Grove. He come up with some massive plays. He takes up a lot of attention. But again, it's the kids around. Are they gonna be able to step up? DeForest is a beast. I think we all know that him and Grover. Mohammed coming well with some nice plays as well.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
say
again.
Our 2 draft picks, Quitty and Dayo.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing from what the Colts have drafted over the last kind of 15 years have been so hit and miss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch college football just because, again, it just doesn't do it for me. So I'm just looking forward to hopefully they can transition quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a bit of a leeway, obviously going to 17 games. I think you can have a bit of a slower start compared to kind of last few years.
Yeah, you don't want a big week 3.
No, and I think we've got a really good bye weeks. One of the last teams as well, isn't it? So I think if we can kind of hit some sort of stride, I've seen a few kind of things on Twitter where they're trying to kind of say, we should go out to get this free agent or that free agent. But I think at the moment, we don't want to be spending much. We certainly don't want to be giving anything away for next year. So I think we're okay. Besides maybe another tight end if we can get one in, but I think majoritively we should be going with what we've got.
Yeah, no need to start spending money now when we've got serious contracts needing to be paid next year.
But that's what Ballard's done. Ballard's drafted too well to then, he's got this headache.
Yeah, I suppose that's what every team wants, is this headache, the good time of headache. The kicking competition, do you want to talk?
Blankenship and Pinheiro coming from the Bears. I'm sure he's been somewhere else since then. Hold on, let me have a little look. I remember him being at the Bears. He missed a couple of big kicks. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, it was Raiders and then Bears. And I think it's good for Blankenship to have that competition. Yeah. But I can, he struggled last year with the kind of longer kicks. Mm-hmm. But I think, he's still quite young. He's had his first full kind of year, and hopefully this offseason he's put a bit of weight on, a bit of muscle, and hopefully then he can start making these 50+ yarders, which is obviously expected in the NFL. But I think his accuracy was good. I think it was a relief compared to the year before with Vinny. Mm-hmm. The kind of stress he put us through.
It was just ugly to watch. That for a kicker as talented and as goated as Vinny, it just wasn't nice to watch because he is the goat at kicking. He clearly wasn't fit to kick, and he tried dragging it out, but he cashed a check his body couldn't handle.
Yeah, no, it's Father Time never loses.
Mm-hmm.
And for what he gave the league to see him go out like that, and he got a lot of abuse.
Yeah, he did.
Which is a little bit unfair. Compared to what he gave us, but it's what have you done for me lately, league? If you're not performing every week, then you're not going to have a job. Mm-hmm. Which obviously the reason why it's nice to see his lads kind of coming through as a kicker as well.
Yeah,
I saw him post something the other day. So I think it shows when you're getting older that the players you used to watch, kids are now then playing.
Yeah,
which is a bit of a worry. But I think this kind of kicking contest, I think it just put a bit of pressure on camp. I can't see Blankenship not being there this season.
Yeah. Mikey's just saying, I really want to see what Strachan does. I'd never heard of him, but someone like what they saw spending a late draft pick on him.
The wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I don't know much about him, and with wide receivers, it seems like you can take anyone off the street, as long as they're tall, they're athletic, and can catch a ball. It seems like they're going to have half a career in the NFL. I think was it Washington last year who had all the COVID issues and literally like sign people off the street on a Wednesday, and then they end up playing on the Sunday.
Yeah.
So a late round wide receiver, can't expect too much from him.
We've done well with late round. We've done well with late round wide receivers before.
Yeah,
God, that was awful. I'd like to see what he does.
But not many people are talking about him, but I think that's for a reason. I'm looking forward to when these open sessions start, because we usually get a bit fed back to us, either on the Colts website or the media team. So looking forward to seeing that. But it's again, I think I said last time I was on that week, the Patriots, I don't think it was Patriots, but another media outlet showed 2 throws from Cam Newton, which were wildly wide of the mark. And then they put in their number 50 wearing quarterback, who's a rookie. He had 2 good throws, but that might have just been 2 good throws from the whole session, whereas Cam might have made 2 bad throws. And so I think that can be a little bit misconstrued. So I guess it comes down to these pre-seasons.
The sandbagging.
Even with pre-season, you're not going to get all the bells and whistles. It's the basic packages, but you're going to get to see route running. You're going to get to see, can they block? You're going to get to see their kind of effort levels. Do they finish off their kind of drive? Do they finish off their moves? Do they really complete what they're supposed to from a standpoint of what they're kind of schemed up?
Yeah. So we all know Frank Reich is a riverboat gambler. He loves coming up with these trick plays. Famously, everyone watching this will know the Philly special was his play. But, we have 3 quarterbacks, one who can play tight end quarterback. We have 4 running backs.
I don't want to see this.
There's got to be some he's thinking up in his head to have these players on the roster going into next season.
I'm not having it. Not having it. After last year, let's look at last season. His special packages were, these short ground yardage where Brissett would come on, meander on, and it's just absolute horrendous. It'd try and pick up 2 or 3 yards, and it'd get a yard and a half. And no, I don't want to see these packages. This New Orleans, the Saints kind of special packages where they bring people off to do this and do that. Let's just keep the quarterback in place.
But that was more for the sense that we couldn't even get a quarterback sneak out of Phillip Rivers. He is that sly, And for me, when Jacoby came onto the field, they didn't even try and mix it up.
I think Zach Pascal probably had more throwing opportunities last year than Brissett.
And we will talk quickly about Brissett because he's been a bit of a weird piece to the Colts' history. Obviously came in from sort of riding the coattails of Tom Brady and winning a ring. I know people raved about him up in New England. Came to the Colts. Got paid hell of a lot to come to the Colts and to stay at the Colts. But we was never really allowed to see him take the reins. What was the problem there? Because he was a good leader from what I've heard in the locker room.
I don't think he showed it. From what we saw on the field, I wouldn't say wildly inaccurate, but the accuracy wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of, yes, he had the strength. Remember when Luck was kind of making that comeback, but then there was kind of an opportunity for kind of a 70, 80 yard, 90 ball. Brissett come on to throw that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't think he had I just don't think in the huddle he was good enough. I don't think he read defenses well enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he saw the game well enough. Yes, he's great from a locker room standpoint. We've heard that from everyone. It was great to see him when the defense made a play. He'd be running in for the pictures.
Yeah.
And that shows kind of what a team player he wanted to be.
Doesn't win the game.
It comes down to what you can do on the field and versus what your salary is. It's a salary cap. So, if your production on the field isn't what your salary is, there's only one way you can go.
I can't remember who summed him up perfectly for me. It might have been, it was Gary, who's a Packers fan, who's my co-host of the Russian Fumble. One of them, shall I say. Jacoby Brissett will get you 7 yards if you need 2, but he'll also get you 7 yards if you need 10. and that was just Jacoby Brissett in a nutshell. You was never going to get what you needed, but you was always going to get what you wanted. If that makes sense.
I know what you mean. Yeah, no, definitely, I definitely get that. You know, I think we're definitely in a better spot from a starter from Jacoby and from Philip Rivers. You know, I wasn't a Phillips fan before he came in, during his time and after his time. You know, appreciate what he came in and did, but I'm glad it was a 1-year stay. And I think, you know, let's give Wentz a good crack at it. Wentz goes down in the season, I'm worried about the backups. But I think if he can stay healthy, then I think we will be fine. It's not like when we had Andrew Luck, majority of the time, you know, we only carried on 2 quarterbacks. You know, it would be him and Hasselbeck or him and another until Hasselbeck then went down, and then we clipboard Jesus and about 30 other quarterbacks for the last 3 games, it felt like. Pagano still doesn't get the credit he deserves.
I've been through 2-12 Indianapolis Colts team. I deserve to see us win a Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying.
You know, they only give one out a year, though, bud.
Yeah, they do.
Not like, because I find it funny, like when Trevor Lawrence has come to the league, you know, he was going to win multiple Super Bowls. Well, no, you give out one a year, and you know, he's playing on the Jaguars for a reason.
My thing about Trevor Lawrence is, at the minute, he's taken the exact same career path as Andrew Luck. And that, as we know, that doesn't work out well. Obviously, I don't wish injuries upon anyone, not even Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. But, you know, maybe Tom Brady, but that's a different matter.
I have been the biggest Tom Brady. I've been I've been the biggest anti-Tom Brady fan going. But him with Bruce Arians, you can't help but smile with him. Like he's got a personality. He's not this arsehole that kind of he's been made out to be. He's actually got a personality, a sense of humor, and you know, I hated to see it, but you know, you're like, he just loves football.
I will say, right, and this is why I hate Ryan Grigson more than anything. It's not for ruining Andrew Luck. It's for not keeping Bruce Arians on as head coach. When, you know, Chuck Pagano unfortunately got cancer, obviously beat it and came back, which is nice to see. But why have you given the most generational talented quarterback since Manning was drafted at number 1 a defensive-minded coach? That's not Pagano.
Especially a defensive coach where, you know, he was only at the Ravens for maybe 2 years. You know, and that was a Ravens defense with Ray Lewis in. I love Chuck. I loved everything about him. Still love him. You know, I think if he had a better GM, I think it would have been different.
Yeah, sorry, just got a comment here from Mikey. I did say to you, Harrison, that I was thinking I was starting to like Brady. You did.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Brady's got a personality. He's got a sense of humor, and you know, I love Bruce. Bruce, like, again, you know, what he's done in the league, you know, again, just his personality, you know, it's been great, and it's just a shame he didn't stay with us. But I think Chuck had to come back in to have that opportunity. But again, if he had a better GM, keeping Luck up straight, not taking Bjorn Werner first overall, you know, it's that thing. You know, I've got BA's and Chuck's book, and they're very good. It's a very good insight into the actual, you know, they talk about the kind of negatives of the league and how kind of soul destroying it could be, you know, and how much the pressure they put on their shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, it does speak volumes when, you know, Chuck Pagano is still very good friends with people like Pat McAfee, Dwight Freeney, and all the guys, whereas Ryan Grigson can't even step foot over the county line without getting arrested. I had something to bring up then, but I completely forgot. Mikey's saying, yeah, you got... Now, I put this in, I think it was my Russian Fumble group chat, but, you know, what I loved about the Super Bowl this year, apart from the game being awfully bad, is Bruce Arians on one side and oh my god, I forgot his name. Completely forgot his name. The Chiefs head coach, Andy Reid.
Yeah.
On the other side, these just two absolute mammoths of men who obviously like the barbecue. In a hot, sweaty Tampa, it was just like it was perfect to see.
It was good to see. Hopefully they're not there this year. Hopefully in the AFC it's us. Hopefully in the NFC is someone that I couldn't really care less about.
Yeah.
When it comes to us, I think playoffs is a minimum.
Yeah.
I'm just writing kind of a season preview as such for us. I can't see us taking that extra step just yet.
I think we will. I think
that first game, that first drive when we score a touchdown, I'll be absolutely football's coming home.
I mean, the last point I'm going to bring up. Obviously, there's been a big drive over here in soccer to get rid of hate. You're never going to get rid of hate completely. You've obviously seen the group chats. Our group chat especially can be very bipolar, but it's never really hateful. No. It's more born out of love that we are. Yeah. We get so frustrated because this team is so good. Then when we run it for the 50th time on 3rd and long, it does get a bit frustrating. But how do we? The fans have a right to be bipolar when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point about watching sport is having that wild emotion of 1 minute being so down and kind of hating everything about it to the next drive coming out and scoring and we're back in this game.
Yeah,
and I think that's the whole point. I think there's a fine line. Your kind of distrust of Eberflus's defense. But that was nothing but frustration. There was no hatred there.
Yeah.
And I think there's a fine line, but I think going into, I think it's a societal thing. I think the kneeling now and like before a game, I think that's different to what it was originally in the NFL.
Yeah.
Again, that's just mine. I think there is a need for it. I think my personal view is that Colin Kaepernick did it at the wrong time. He should have done it when he was at the top of the game. When he was in the Super Bowl, not when he was just cut. That was, but it did need someone to make a stand and to make the statement. But I think it could have been done in a way of I'm at the top of the game. Exactly the same as Thomas Hitzelsberger when he was at West Ham.
Yeah.
As soon as he retired, he wrote a book and then come out and said he was gay. I was like, well, you've only done it because you're about to sell a book.
Yeah.
Whereas you got the Nassib Ball, his name is from the Raiders, who's someone that's towards the top of his game, who's in the media spotlight now, and that's going to make a difference. It's all well and good doing it after you retired, like Gareth Thomas, Welsh rugby player. He come out and done it afterwards. He had to come out because the papers made him because he went and knocked on their mum and dad's door. But it's the fact of doing it when you're at the top of your game. Tom Brady's going to say, do it when you're at the top of the game. It's at that point where you can really make a difference, and you can't get accused like I have a Colin Kaepernick doing it once you're kind of seeing your way out of the league because your game isn't as good as what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to get too political. For me, if you're a prick, you're a prick. As long as it's legal, who cares?
Yeah.
If you play for the Colts, I love you. But
as long as you're not doing anything stupidly off the field.
Yeah. But I know what you're getting at with sometimes it can feel like a way for athletes to try and stay relevant. And like you say, it's completely wrong. And
but it was needed and is needed and it's continued to be needed. But, I think it was a case of hindsight's a beautiful thing if they could have got together with a few of them who are kind of more towards the top of the game, I can't really think of any big global stars selling like the big Jordan sneakers. It needs to be like the Michael Jordan when he was relevant, or someone that's really in that kind of pinnacle of their career. So I think that would have been, and I think again, I don't know much about American politics because I don't live there, but it will stop a lot of the haters. It can't be because you're just leaving us like, well, okay, yeah, now we have to stand up and listen. I think we've got it right in this country, and I think it's a good step. It's not just these slogan campaigns from. Yeah, it's actually the players are actually making a difference, and I think Twitter's got to kind of jump on that. I think all of us in our group anyway, we tweet about it. We don't like stuff, but I don't think we've ever got personal.
No, like you said,
even with Grigson,
Yeah, I don't like the guy, and if I met him, I definitely wouldn't buy him a drink. But
exactly,
I'm not going to go and slate his family or call him a name.
Exactly, and I think that's where you kind of go back to your original question. I think that's where the kind of lines at us as fans. We're there to pay our money, to pay our subscription fees, to buy the jerseys, to buy this, to buy, and I think it gives us a right to enjoy the highs and the lows, but it doesn't give you a right to be a prick as such, as you said.
Yeah. No, it can be a very grey area. For me, social media needs to do a lot more. There needs to be a lot more, vetting in place when you sign up to social media. So then if you do something like that, they can hold you accountable. We are seeing over here, like you say, refs are taking more action. UEFA, as bent as they are, they are completely corrupt, are taking some action. Whereas now referees can stop games if players hear homophobic abuse.
But we're going to a World Cup next year where you can't be a homosexual.
Exactly. It's just crazy. It is just crazy. Obviously, we didn't have it right for a long time over here. Example, Fashion New. That is a tragic story. So I won't get too deep into it because this is about Colts football. But politics does come out in sports.
Yeah, because platform. These are multimillionaires that have got platforms to, whether it's right or wrong to say someone earning £100 million a year to throw a football, you should have that say over kind of that influence as such. But these players do influence.
Yeah.
A lot of kind of opinions, and so it's about I think there's a lot going into education. I think the Colts did a lot last year. Frank Reich, I think them as an organisation 2 or 3 times, they said, like, we're not training today, we're having an education session which kind of helped towards team building to keep, because the only way to a better society and a better league and a better, more kind of inclusive environment, is to educate. And us as fans, I don't care who I'm sitting next to or what I'm sitting next to. It's a case of, if you're there to support our team, crack on.
To end on a brighter note then, because that
let's
tangent, but
I didn't expect to go down that route tonight.
This stuff does need to be talked about. But to end on a higher note, who's going to be our lightning in a bottle next season?
I've just had a thought for another article, so so yeah, let me just make a note of that. Our bright light. Wow. Running back's too easy to say.
Okay.
That is too easy to say. I try not to go too obvious. Bobby Okereke.
Yeah, I like it.
I think he's definitely trending up again. Going back to the word potential, he's shown much more than potential, and hopefully he'll be getting a lot more snaps this year. And I think he could be. I think he could be that kind of spark, that as I say, that light in a bottle that can kind of push on a bit and just help Darius out. Give him a bit more space, take a bit of pressure off his shoulders.
Yeah. I'm going to say Braden Smith.
Yeah.
And that's because I believe he's going to absolutely manhandle Aaron Donald in week 2.
We talked about that last time, didn't we?
Yeah. I can feel it coming. They're going to think, oh, yeah, we're moving away from Quentin Nelson. Braden Smith is just as good at his job as Quentin Nelson. He's just not as notable at his job.
No, yeah. It's going to be good. I think that's going to be a media build-up. I think it's before, having Donald and Nelson or Donald and Kelly, like just I don't really care. It's just the fact of there's going to be 11 other on the field that are going to be kind of fighting it. And
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Carson's going to have a field day, I think, because looking at the Rams defense, other than him, they've only got a couple of people that you kind of think, oh, we'd like to have him.
Yeah, and when you look at the other side of the ball that game, we have got the guy in line behind Aaron Donald in the Forest Butler, so they have to deal with that.
Yeah, and I think because of the LA market, yes, Aaron Donald is phenomenal, but I think because of his market presence, I think that's why he gets a lot more attention.
Yeah. Anyway, we've been talking a lot of football, just over 55 minutes now. It has been a great chat. We talked about a lot. Elliot, we love you, but your opinions on Jack Doyle are trash.
In fact, I do have this saved, and I'm so looking forward to the season because every single snap that goes Jack Doyle's on the field. I need to order myself a Doyle shirt. I know he's going to only be here for another season, but I think it'd be worth it just.
Are you going to build a little shrine of Jack Doyle behind you?
Mate, I thought about it. Like I've got a couple of shelves here that just might need a little effigy of Jack.
Mikey, it's been a pleasure interacting with you.
Thanks, buddy.
I know we talked about getting on the show sometime. We will make it happen. Nice to see a new commenter in the Horseshoe Huddle. The Colts family is massive, and I believe it's massive, and we keep growing every day. Thanks for everyone watching. Thanks to everyone who's going to watch. It's been another episode of the UK Colts Fans Podcast.